just keep an eye on the ones behind us, and then we'll roll back to see the little ones again. Now you can just see, I'm sure you can see that the light has softened since I last saw you. You may not have noticed it as it sort of happened with Jamie because you were watching continuously, but I've noticed now, as I'm looking at my monitor, that the light has definitely softened. And there's quite a lot of mist, or not mist, smog, hanging over, dust hanging over the... Oh, what a vicious elephant. Oh, hello. That was quite a charge. Now, embarrassed, of course, tail out. That's wonderful. Now, I often wonder with these little ones that come charging out of the bush at us, are they doing it of their own volition? Have they been told by one of the older ones to go and have a look? We can roll back. There we go. Young bull again. He's trying to show us that he's not scared, but in fact he's doing quite the opposite. We'll just keep rolling back towards him. We could turn around at any stage and go back to his herd. We're not blocking him in any way. I'm just going to turn the car slightly so you can see the other little ones coming across. There they come. So that one that's on the road there, that's the protective bull. The bull that wouldn't let us get anywhere near his either sibling or nephew or niece. And here comes a tiny little one with his mum, just hiding behind the bush there. Here comes mum now, also missing a tusk, maybe both tusks. You can see the other side. And both the mothers are coming now with their little ones. There you can just see that end of the little trunks, keeping close to mum. That's the little family that we saw to start with. And that young bull is still watching us. You can see him, he keeps turning around and checking on the little one, seeing that it's okay. The little one is obviously nervous, staying right next to mum, right between her legs. And they are now probably, let's say 60 meters from us, so they're not that close at all. And the others are just about to come across. This is an interesting one from Christopher in Arizona. Hello Christopher, it's a good question. What do elephants smell like? I think I've attempted to describe it before. Look at that little thing. They smell like, I think everybody knows what a horse smells like, especially if you're from Arizona, you probably know what a horse smells like. They smell a bit like horse, but slightly sweeter than that. There's a bit of a sweeter scent to it. And then with a bit of, I suppose they're a little bit smoky smelling as well, so kind of take horse as your base, add a bit of sweetness to it, and then a bit of smoke, and you've got a vague idea as to what they smell like. Viam, does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, smoke, orange and...
There we go. Smoke, orange and?
Dust.
And dust. Smoke, orange, dust and horse. There you go. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good description. Look at that little one there. So the two little chaps now having a little fight. They're clearly feeling quite confident now. He's playing in the dust, that little thing. They love to play in the dust, the babies. Remember, their trunks don't quite reach the floor unless they lean over. And those games are so important, trying to pick up stones and playing with branches, stretching down to touch the ground, so important to learning how to use that trunk. It takes about 2 years. And eventually they give up and they just faceplant. Tiny little thing. There we go, they'll probably come out now. That road that we're on there, of course, is the northern boundary. Now, boundaries are quite important things, and while we're looking at this elephant disappear over the northern boundary, I must just tell you that the good news is that Eugenius, our technical man, has been found. He was found across 1, 2, 3, 5 boundaries from where he should have been. How he fetched up where he did at the southern reaches of the Sabi Sands, that will be a question that we ask him, possibly over a fairly strong drink this evening he will need when he returns. He's being escorted back as we speak, but we don't really know how on earth he managed to get almost 40 kilometers off the map. Now, there was a little while back that we saw a tiny little calf at Buffelshoek Dam, and they seemed to be struggling badly with the heat, and the postulation was that its mother was not lactating a huge amount. Now, I'm going to throw this out there. I wonder if that isn't the calf and her mother. Her mother has got very small mammary glands, and I think that was the reason the call was made, that she perhaps wasn't lactating as much as some others. And perhaps that's why the bull is so protective. But I don't think necessarily, as with humans, the size of the mammary glands probably doesn't make a huge difference to how much they can lactate. I wonder if that isn't the same little calf. Anyway, we can't get any closer because they are going next door, unfortunately. So I think we'll continue making our way along the Buffelshoek cut line here. We didn't get as far as Arathusa. We're going to turn down that way and see if we can't get an update of what's been seen there. In the meantime, from the very heavy animal to the very tall animal. And I'm not talking about Brent, I'm talking about Jamie, and she's with the giraffe. See you just now.
And what absolutely incredible elephant behavior you've been seeing with James. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later, but for now, I found probably not the most beautiful giraffe I've ever seen in my life, but definitely one who's been in the wars recently. Maybe he is beautiful in his own way, but he's rubbed most of the skin off those hard protrusions in the center of his forehead, so those bony protrusions. And those bumps serve exactly the same purpose as those ossicones on the top of his head. When he's fighting another male, he can swing his head round with the most incredible strength and momentum and bash the other competing male on the sides or on the legs. And I'm sure many of you have seen footage of giraffes fighting. And I think that's why he's rubbed the skin away on the top of those bones. Could also be that he's rubbed them away and they've become a little bit infected. And of course the oxpeckers that we were talking about before won't help either, because not only will they pick at the ticks around his face and around the rest of his body, but they'll also keep injuries like that open and susceptible to infection, because if they eat ticks, it means they enjoy saliva and blood and mucus as well. And they'll take it where they can get it, including fresh wounds. Might be fungus as well, some kind of skin condition, a fungal infection or a bacterial infection. I just think the fact that it's where it is, on his face and on the top of those bones, suggests to me he might have rubbed it away. And he's been so patient with us. We've been sitting with him for the last 5 or so minutes and he hasn't really moved. He's just quite happily ruminating. You can see that sideways chewing of the cud. And a swallow. And if we're lucky, we might see, if we sit and watch his neck, we might see the... There you go. Did you see that? That bulge that went up into his neck and into his mouth. That was the ruminant ball coming straight back up again so that he can chew the next one. It's time how long he chews this one for. I'm going to keep a close eye on my watch just to check. I want to know, just for curiosity's sake, how long they chew for and what the interval is between cud balls. Stop to take a break. Also switched the rotation of his jaw around, so he's chewing in one. There he goes, swallowed. Does he swallow? Yes. There it goes, up again, next one. That was in the interval of less than a minute. That was about 45 seconds between one cud ball coming up, chewing, swallowing, and bringing the next one into his mouth. That's interesting, something I've never thought about. How often does a giraffe, or how many cud balls does a giraffe have to chew like that? That one was a shorter one. There goes the next one. That was less than 30 seconds between cud balls. Hello, boy. Oh, you're looking a bit beaten up. Hello. Oh, even a floppy ear. I didn't realize from that profile view we had that right ear is actually injured. Try to stay with him. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you. Just want to see if he's going to go behind me or if he's going to keep going to the side. I don't want to reverse if he wants to go in that direction. It looks as though he's going to walk parallel with us. Let me just get us another view of him. He is quite spectacular, even if he's not the most beautiful of giraffe. He's a soldier or a warrior. That big boy. You can see that dark color, and when they get those prominent protrusions on their face and that dark color that he's got, generally indicates an older bull, and I would say this one is probably coming up to 20 years old. A nice mature bull and perfectly capable of competing with mating opportunities. You can even see protrusions on the back of those ossicones. And that is the most, they still fall, they're a very similar category to the ossicones, the two horns on the top of his head. He's got 6 of them, the 2 at the back, the 2 in the front, and the 2 on the top of his head. All formidable weapons. And his skull, I've picked up giraffe skulls, just the skulls, before, of a big old male, and it weighs probably close to 12 kilograms, easily the weight of a bag of flour, if not more. And I've actually struggled to hoist it around and to prepare it for a display room. Should clarify at this point, it was a giraffe that had died of natural causes, but we were using it for educational purposes. And whilst he chews away and watches the sunset, apparently James has got a beautiful view to show you, so let's head across to him, and I will be back with you and this gentleman a little bit later.
Well, it's not always filled with great cats and plethora of clawed and horned animals, but there's one thing you can be certain of out here, and that is the magnificence of that western sky come this time of the day. Look at that. And I can hear in the distance thunder. Those clouds are sending thunder from the south as they come up over the mountains. Look at that beautiful scene. Isn't that astonishing? That is not a painting, that is not a photograph, that is reality as it's happening right now. Okay, we'll send you back to the cud-chewing giraffe and Jamie. Jamie, of course, is not a cud-chewing giraffe, but a very attractive young lady. Gendre is also not a cud-chewing giraffe, but not quite as attractive as Jamie. We'll send you back to them and the giraffe. We're going to press on and see what we can find, possibly on Arathusa. Just thought we'd show you this lovely sunset. See you just now.
Just look at those amazingly powerful limbs. This beautiful boy, look how dark he is. And that slow breathing. And there's those oxpeckers that I was talking about that probably were responsible for keeping those injuries open, and then that enormously muscular neck. There's one sitting right on top there. Definitely not helping to keep those wounds healing. Seems to have oxpecker just made it into too sensitive a spot. There you go, he managed to shake him off. It has distracted him from his job of ruminating, and Lewis, who's watching all the way in New York, noticed that not only did we get to watch the cud ball move up through the bulge, but the giraffe's cheeks also puffed out and then slowly deflated as the cud ball was chewed and broken down. Something that I didn't pick up on, but that's one of the things I love about these observations we get from viewers, because it's such a great way to learn. Oxpecker's made it back. I guess you have to be pretty stubborn if you're an oxpecker. You've got to ignore the gentle requests from the animals to leave them alone. And that oxpecker is not to be deterred. Clinging on, shame, man. Leave the poor giraffe alone. He doesn't want you there. Go find the ticks elsewhere on his body. There you go, straight into those raw patches. We've had this beautiful male giraffe, but James has some piggies to show you. We'll cross across to him for now, and I'll be back with you now.
Well, can you believe it? Here we are, 2 warthogs that have not run away from us, which is just marvelous. So often these little things disappear at high speed into the bush, and let's just get a bit closer. It looks like a boar and a sow. The sow is being uncharacteristically uncourageous, which of course is the opposite of what a normal warthog sow is, and the boar is being particularly confiding. Let's see if we can get a bit closer. They are loving the new green grass that has come as a result of the rain we had the other night. Right, let's sneak forward and jigger. Come on, little girl. There we go. Oh, look at him. Isn't he wonderful? Obviously, you can tell he's a male. Can you tell that, Viam?
Has he got bigger tusks?
He's got larger ears, yes.
Oh, yeah. And the extra warty thing.
Correct. He's got 2 pairs of warts on his face. And it's so lovely to see them kneeling like that as they eat. And the only animals I know of that do that. And you can see he's not digging with his snout. Often their snout is used for digging, but it just allows him to get right down low. And when they pull up the grass, they often don't just pull up the blades, they pull up the underground stems or rhizomes, and that is the richest part of the grass plant. Oh, they're such special little things, these. I think we're going to milk the sighting for as much as we can, because we seldom get them to just behave in front of us like they are now. And that ground is not very soft. Were you to go along there on your knees, you would complain bitterly.
Another male. Incredible how those legs that actually look quite thin manage to carry all of that weight. As I said, he's definitely been in the wars, but I also think that he is quite an old giraffe. He's definitely a mature bull with all of those knobbly protrusions on his face and the fact that he is so dark in color. And Bill, you were wondering how old I think he is. I originally said 20 a little bit earlier, but I think that might be a bit of an overestimate. He could be around 15, but you never know. Giraffe can live up to 20, 25. So he could be that old, but I think probably somewhere in the region of 15. I overestimated it earlier. Definitely a mature bull. And when they are this age, they also get a distinctive smell every now and again. And it's not an entirely pleasant one, I would say. I can't smell him though. We are sitting downwind of him. Yes, boy, you are beautiful in your own way. He's heard something. He's looking somewhere off to the left of me. I'm just going to be quiet for one moment. He's heard something I haven't. What do you hear, big boy? What's there? He is peering off intently into the bushes, and Jen, in Idaho, you were wondering if he is too big to be taken down by something like a pride of lions. There's something walking there. I can see something's just walked through there. Oh, it's a buffalo. That's what he's looked at. There we go. Off he goes. It was just some old Duggar boys returning from the dam and walking past us, and that's what attracted his attention. And he's just moving off. And I thought maybe it might be a predator, because as Jen asked, it is possible for a giraffe of this size to be taken down by a lion, especially a big lion pride with a couple of males. And some prides do specialize in hunting giraffe, and if he does seem to be limping ever so slightly. And if he is in any way injured, that would be something that the lions would take advantage of. I just wanted to show you what it was that he turned around to have a look at. There's a couple of Duggar boys just moving through. That's what attracted his attention. I could hear them moving, but it took me a while to figure out what they were. Mini fowler also making plenty of noise. But yes, he could absolutely be targeted by lions. In terms of defense though, they'd have to be very, very careful. A giraffe like that, or even slightly smaller, can kick with incredible force, and it's not unheard of for lions to be killed in the process of hunting giraffe. If they take one solid knock to the head from a hoof like that, with all of that force and momentum, it could absolutely kill them in a big way. So they have strength on their side as well as their size. In terms of speed, they're not that fast. It's not that they could necessarily outrun lions, but they have long legs, so they can keep that speed up for quite a long time. It could be that a lion might get tired and might get bored, but I do think it's time to say goodbye to this gentleman. And the reason I say that is I want to head across and see what the guinea fowl are calling at. And whilst I do that, I believe that James has another bird to show you, so let's head across to him for now, and I will be back with you very shortly.
Hello, there is a black-bellied korhaan. It's just doing its funny little calls, and we did it the other day with Brian. Unfortunately, it's going to probably, it's walking the correct direction. Just watch it carefully, and while you're watching, look, here we go. What? Now, if you look at the back of its head, it looks, Brian, what does the back of its head look like to you? When it turns its head there, what does that look like?
Like it's wearing swimming goggles.
The back of the head to me looks A, like it could be looking at me, and B, I think it looks like a snake. And I think that black marking on the back of the head there is not entirely unlike the markings of an Egyptian cobra. Here he goes again. Listen. I think I've seen that 100 times, and I just find it so amusing every single time. Kind of territorial display. I'll just reverse back a bit so that we can get a better view. Let's let him do it once more, and then we'll carry on. Look how the neck moves. Just like a snake. Here he goes. Come on, bird. Okay, let us down. Maybe he's sunk. Oh. Wonderful. No other bird I know of makes a bizarre call like that. We fix that kind of grey gular pouch out. Wonderful stuff. Right, I believe Jamie had some impala alarm calling, which is quite nice. And if those leopards are around, they will probably start to move. Guinea fowl alarm calling, not impalas. If the leopards are around, they may well start to move now that it's got a bit cooler. So we'll head down probably into that area again and see if they don't pop out now as the night starts to fall. We're now in the far western reaches of Djuma. Arathusa is off to the west, where the sun is just set down below a thunderous cloud and the Drakensberg Mountains. And then a question about we often get questions actually about the different kinds of animals that we get here versus those that we might find in North America or indeed the rest of the world. Janet, you want to know if we get beavers here. We don't get beavers here. Beavers are only found in North America as far as I know. There also wouldn't be nearly enough water for beavers to survive here and build their little lodges. They are fascinating creatures. I'd love to see a beaver one day actually. But I don't think we almost spotted a diker. Oh. Doing what dikers do best, run away at high speed. So, Janet, not enough water for beavers, and also, I mean, in the New World, they occur, they definitely don't occur here in the Old World. We've just switched on the lights. Probably switch them off again. We're going to go past a group of people having their sundowners. like a rather nice activity for this time of the day. Staring west as they are, the sunset. So if you ever come out to Africa, this is obviously one of the highlights, is to stand here and inhale the smells and sounds of a glorious African evening. Possibly with a gin and tonic, possibly with a Coca-Cola. Good evening. Ah, yeah. Lodge, commercial lodge, just on the same reserve that we operate on. And we get quite a few questions as to what language I speak with tax. It's a language called Shangaan or Tsonga, and we had an interesting inquiry today from a viewer who'd come to South Africa, who said that she had heard them use the term Dumela, which means hello in a different language, and it brought about the subject of how many different languages there are in South Africa. We have 11 official languages. Two of them of European origin, but one, Afrikaans, is no longer a kind of European language. It's very much an African language, although it takes various influences from around the world. As Viam pointed out, there's a bit of Korean in it. There's some Gaelic, quite a lot of Dutch, a bit of English, and possibly one or two indigenous languages here too. There's the other Quran calling. We get two Qurans here. One is called the black-bellied and the other is the red-crested, and it was going and it's also called the suicide bird. So while its counterpart makes that bizarre kind of champagne cork popping noise, the red-crested Quran makes a strident whistling, and it shoots up into the air and folds its wings up and plummets to the ground, and eventually it kind of flips over and opens its wings just in time to land. But apparently the young birds, the young males, often don't know exactly when to open their wings, so they mistime it and end up with concussion. I'm not being facetious, this is absolutely what happens. That is the red-crested Quran. Still quite warm though, I must say. I mean, I say the heat is dissipated, but it's certainly not got cool. Not about to whip out a jersey anytime soon. So back onto our hippo conversation. Hippopotamus, as Paul, you rightly say, does indeed mean river horse. Hippo doesn't actually mean hippo. I mean, well, it does now. But interestingly, the horse-like antelope are known as the hippotragus. That's what that means. And of course, the Romans used to race around the hippodrome, which was that's where the chariot races were, and the hippo obviously does mean horse in Latin, so that's where hippo comes from. Potamus, I guess, means river in Latin. I'm just not sure how or why. And then Teresa, you say that you saw a documentary that said hippopotamus and lions share almost identical vocal cords. I think that's fascinating, I really do. I don't know anything about it. The lions have very sophisticated, all the big cats have very sophisticated mechanisms in their voices to make them project huge distances, and certainly hippos you can hear from a long, long way away, even their grunts. But when they roar, and I mean they don't roar like lions, but they do make a roaring noise if they're fighting or if they're in distress. And it's deafening. It's one of the loudest sounds we get out here. Completely deafening sound. Right, we're back in the area of the leopards, hoping fervently that they might step across the road. what started out as a very quiet afternoon has actually turned out very pleasant. Lots of elephants, lots of buffalo, a giraffe, a magnificent sunset. There's always something to see out here. Let me retrieve my spotlight. Shamrock, I'm going to address you directly because you've asked about 37 questions in one tweet. Very, very skillful tweeting that. Well done. I'm glad you're not at work. Today is obviously Saturday. And I think if I get your first question correctly, you want to know about territoriality in animals, and is it seasonal and based on, say, the weather conditions? And does it kind of define our territorial markers more defined at different times of the year? Right, the first part of that question is no, they're not more defined necessarily depending on the time of year, but as you correctly guess, they are definitely more marked. So leopards and lions and hyenas, which are highly territorial after the rains that we just had, in theory should be out marking their territories and their boundaries. Clearly the boundaries of these animals don't occur on Djuma at the moment. But yes, definitely we do find that leopards and lions will mark their territories far more actively just after rain. But I don't think that there's any, so while their marking may be more active during the summer months when there's rain, I don't think the actual territory is a different size or shape necessarily during the winter time when there's no rain at all. And the other part of your question is just for fun. You say, because we live in the bush, do we find people watching quite entertaining? Yes, I think, well, I certainly do sometimes. People are the most varied and bizarre species of any that there are in the world. We are varied in shape more than any other animal. We are varied in language. We are varied in attitude. And certainly I find that people out here, even though that they've paid inordinate amounts of money to come out here and look at animals and the magnificent African wilderness, it's astonishing. It didn't matter whether I was in the car with a camera on it or just in a vehicle. As soon as you're in a sighting with, say, mating leopards, as soon as another vehicle pulls into the sighting, the first thing that people do, no matter what's going on the ground, is check each other out in the other vehicles. It's the most amazing thing to watch. And as you put a camera on the back like this, you can go into a sighting of wild dogs killing an elephant and everybody will ignore that completely and stare at what's going on here, just in case there's a celebrity or something interesting is happening. What could be more interesting than wild dogs killing elephants? I'm not really sure, but certainly people love to watch people, Shamrock. It's an amazing fact of life. And just sort of carrying on that topic, if you go and I'm sure you maybe don't realize it, but you'll certainly notice it now that I pointed out to you. Human beings talk, apparently, in social conversation, 70% of what they say has to do with other people. It hasn't got to do with the weather, the politics, climate change, the war, or, various wars against terror, the melting of the polar ice caps, possible nuclear leaks from Fukushima power plant. No, not things that might actually affect the longevity of our species and our children. They talk about each other. Did you see what she was wearing today? Do you know what he earns? Did you see his new car? Yes, is an amazing fact of human sociality that we love to talk about each other, because more than this takes us back to biology, more than any other species in the world, we have an ability to read, well, we think, a greater ability to read other people's behavior than from our facial expressions and from what we say. We're natural psychologists, and that has come about, we've evolved that way because, and this is quite a controversial one, we reckon, or there's a large school of thought that reckons that human speech is so sophisticated because we've become such skilled liars, far more so than any other species out here. So, it's quite an interesting one. Thank you, Shamrock, for inspiring me to hold forth about human communication. Right, let's go back to Jamie. We have nothing particular biological interest to show you at the moment. We're driving around with the leopards, where she'll tell you what happened with those alarming guinea fowl.
I double checked what the guinea fowl was shouting at, and I haven't been able to find anything. Definitely wasn't any indication of where our honeymoon couple of those two mating leopards are. I have not found any sign of them, I'm afraid, but I have been checking really, really carefully. And tomorrow is a new day to double check, but we are still searching around the drainage lines to see if we can pick up on them. Maybe they're out and about now that it's a little bit cooler, and exploring a little bit, maybe heading out to find some food as a break from their activities. Now, we've had a really, really interesting day filled with elephant behavior. Excuse me, Roller. Just turn my light off, let him fly away. Obviously not a nighttime creature, a lilac-breasted roller. Stop for a moment. A lilac-breasted roller on the right and a starling on the left. Oh, they can be quite aggressive birds, lilac-breasted rollers, especially at this time of year, which is breeding season for them. They'd be really defensive of their nesting holes. But not a nocturnal creature, so definitely not something I'm going to be shining any kind of light on. But on the subject of lights, just to let you all know, I don't actually have a spotlight with me this evening. In all of the technical difficulties that happened between Wendy and Rusty, the spotlight appears to have thrown in the towel as well for now. There's a spider as well. I've just seen it, or at least Jandre has just pointed it out to me. That's built a web between those two branches. I'm not sure if you can see, it's just that little speckle in the middle of your screens, between the twigs at the top there. Almost impossible for me to tell you what spider it is, and I don't want to go and interrupt it now in the evening. But what that little guy will have done, he would have been on one branch, either on the left or the right, and he would have drawn out his silk and made a ball, and then thrown it into the air and let it catch in the wind. And that would have been his anchor strand to then build that web between the two branches. Beautiful evening sky. I think we might even have some rain overnight. Oh, it's a beautiful evening. It's still baking hot. It feels like the earth. It was very well described to me by Brent the other day. It's like it's whomping heat, if I can describe it to you like that. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like a speaker, but it's heat. It comes in waves off the earth when it's been baking all day in the sun. Let's continue on our mission, see if we can find some of these leopards who might be out and about at this time of the evening. It's a perfect time to go leopard spotting. But as I was saying before the lilac-breasted roller alighted in the road, I wanted to chat with you a little bit about elephants, because I did have a question that was asked earlier and then I didn't quite have a time to get round to it, about elephant personalities and whether or not I think they have different individual personalities and if they respond differently to me as opposed to other guides. And I think that question came from Trisha. I hope you're still watching, Because my answer from my side is absolutely, definitely yes. Elephants have different personalities. And I've interacted with a lot of different ones. For example, there was a bull named Riff Raff in the area I used to work at, and Riff Raff was called Riff Raff for a reason. He was called Riff Raff because he liked to break into people's gardens, he liked to cause fights with other elephants, and we always thought he kind of had he was quite a short elephant, very thick, big tusks, and his entire upset in the past. He had a perfectly normal elephant upbringing, if you can call it that. He just happened to have one of those personalities. Whereas an elephant like Charles, who was also one of the big bulls in the reserve, was completely relaxed, always approachable, even in the height of must. He was still very, very calm. And I saw it with individual females as well. There was one called Friendly, who was distinctly not friendly. One called Cheeky, who was really cheeky. And it's a combination of personalities as well as the position that they hold within the herd and the role that they play. So the matriarch is always going to be really protective, really wise, and very either leading the group or maintaining them at the back and rumbling and communicating to them all the time. And then just in terms of the way that they react to me versus other guides, I don't think that there's much difference. Everything that happens with elephants, apart from the individual circumstances of their lives, most things that happen with elephants depend almost entirely on the way that you handle them and the way that you read their body language. And we're very fortunate with our crew at Wild Earth that they are incredibly incredibly well experienced in reading elephant behavior and knowing how to approach them. And it's one of the things that I absolutely love about working in this environment. But I have experienced circumstances where, and not necessarily places I've worked, but in places that I've visited where I've seen that the guides don't necessarily always behave with the same amount of respect that most guides do. And in those circumstances, it was so interesting because you could see the change in elephants' behavior just by the sound of the vehicles that the different guides used. They would be perfectly relaxed in a sighting, and then they would hear the sound of the other vehicle and instantly become a little bit upset and uncomfortable. So they respond differently depending on how you treat them and the habits that they've learned. I don't think, in terms of being a girl versus a boy, I don't think that makes any kind of difference, man or woman. You just have to make sure that you're not high-pitched in the way that you talk to them. Such incredible and interesting behavior, but it's a wonderful example of how no matter what happens, we will never ever know everything about them, and we will never know what to expect. And I mentioned this yesterday, but I was watching a documentary on the repopulation of the Gorongosa reserve within Mozambique, which, if you don't know, was a reserve that really, really fell onto hard times during the civil war and the conflict that happened within Mozambique. And a lot of the animals paid the price for the human conflict. I'm bobbing and weaving because I don't want to run over any of the beetles in the road. But it has been so interesting to see how the elephants, because they are so long-lived, all of those adult elephants in the reserve, so many of them would have lived through that conflict, and as a result have adopted a certain attitude to humans that is slowly changing and showing how they can learn to respond again to humans that don't mean them any harm. It was something I found absolutely fascinating. Very sad as well. It is a very sad situation, but at least it is something that's slowly regaining the balance that it used to have. Definitely a place that's going to be on my list to visit in future because it looks absolutely exquisite. Elephants have the most incredible brain capacity for emotional development and relationships, but they also have the most wonderful sensory abilities. And Joni from Colorado, welcome to the Sunset Safari. You were wondering if what an elephant's smell is like compared to something like a dog. And I have to think about that for a moment. I would say they're pretty much on a par for the most part, except where you get certain breeds of dogs that are really, really designed to be focused on scenting. So something like a bloodhound maybe might outstrip an elephant in terms of their olfactory abilities. But yeah, that's an interesting question. It's not one that I've thought about, and I wonder what you all think. I would say that they would be outstripped by something like a hyena that is so incredibly reliant on their sense of smell. But a very, very interesting thought. You can see it from elephants that obviously are very used to the main roads and the way that people drive, and then the ones on the slightly back routes and back loops that are less comfortable with people. And it's just behavior that's been learnt over time. And for me, there's nothing like the experience that you have with elephant bulls in particular. An old elephant bull, a mature elephant bull, is one of the most special creatures that's out there. They just exude this sense of calm and peace, and somehow it transmits to the people that are around it. Some amazing fans out there, and a couple of them are really, really young. And apparently there is a 4-year-old fan whose hero is James, and has, as part of Halloween experience, I completely forgot it was Halloween, but as part of Halloween has dressed up as James along with his pet dog, who is disguised as a lion. So let's head across to James, because I believe that he is also observing the tradition, and I'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Of course, it is the 31st of October, and in lieu of Halloween, and especially in honor of the young 4-year-old Stacy, who has dressed up as me to go to her Halloween party. Some people go as gargoyles, of course, and some people go as me. I am going to my Halloween party dressed as Euclea Divinorum, the magic worry. As you can see, my costume is extremely effective and indeed very expensive. Liam, what are you going as? Jack Frost.
No, more Edward. I'm Marula Man.
He's Marula Man. Okay, Liam is going as Marula Man. Okay, excuse me, I nearly drove off the road there. We've come back into the area where the leopards were last heard by Brent Leo Smith earlier this morning, and hoping. We did stop for a little while we put on our very imaginative costumes in lieu of Halloween, and thought that we might hear these leopards, but we have not. So we're just going to keep driving around here, and we'll see what other interesting creatures of the night we can see. Now, the one disadvantage of the spotlight and the fact that I'm holding it is the fact that you can't necessarily see the eyes that shine. So often you'll see me go like that, and I'll say there's a bush baby, and you won't necessarily be able to see it because you have to be right behind the spotlight in order to see that. And so when I am saying there are some eyes, do not think me mad. I can actually see them. There are some Diker eyes there that we won't shine off. Thank you very much, Margot, in the Netherlands. Apparently, beavers also occur in Europe and not only in America. That is fascinating to me. So, I suspect what happened then is that I think they definitely did. I don't think they evolved here in Africa. What they probably did was either evolve in Northern Europe and Russia and then cross the Bering Strait, or during an ice age perhaps, or perhaps they evolved in the US and crossed the other way across the Bering Strait during a time when it was perhaps a little colder, and so the sea, when there was an ice bridge across the Bering Strait there. Fascinating. Thank you for that, Margot. I'm just going to stop here, and I'm going to be very quiet about stopping here because I've spotted something quite interesting. I'm going to turn the spotlight off. Yeah, I'm in this tree here. Can you see what I'm looking at? Can you see it? Straight up on the top there. In the middle of the light. You're in the wrong tree. Go to the right. I've parked you behind a bush. Hang on a second. Let me just go. I'm going to get back a little bit. I don't want to disturb them.
Nice.
You got them now. There. Look at that. Little crested francolins. And they're roosting in the trees. So often people say, where do they go during the night? There's the answer, into a spiky tree, where hopefully they will remain safe from the clutches of things like jennets and big owls during the night that might want to come and eat them. I'm going to turn the light off them. I don't want them to fly off. If they fly, they'll really struggle to land again. But just lovely to see where they roost at night time. William, how's your costume working out as far as camera operating goes? Is it quite difficult?
Not the easiest.
You're handling though.
Yeah,
but your costume is very important today. Now, I have to answer a question with a similar question or request. Umang, you say that you'd like to see a hammerkorp's nest. I haven't found one here yet. I believe there are rumours, I've heard rumours that there is one. Have you seen one here, Björn? No. There are lots of hammerkorps, and for those of you who don't know, a hammerkorp's nest is a great collection of rubbish, sticks and bits. Oh, there's a little leveret. Little baby scrub hare. I'll go a little bit forward. Umang, I'll get back to you. There we go. I'm just going to stop here. I don't want to frighten the life out of the poor little thing. That's a baby scrub hare that you can see running off into the darkness there, known as a leveret. Umang, I've not seen a hammerkorp's nest here. I don't know why I haven't seen a hammerkorp's nest here, because there certainly are enough hammerkorps around. And we were watching them devouring a whole lot of toads yesterday at the Djuma Dam. So I'm sure we'll come across one eventually. I think there is one off-road somewhere near the Buffelshoek Dam, but I haven't yet to see it. So thank you for that, Umang. And for those of you who don't know, hammerkorp's nest can weigh up to 100 kilograms, and it's a huge messy collection of sticks and bark and debris, and they'll go to rubbish dumps and pick up batteries and old shoe soles and all sorts of things and put them into the top of the nest, and then they make a nice chamber inside. They line it with mud, and it looks like a pretty comfortable place to live. An astonishing nest. No other bird that we know of out here builds a nest like that. Abby, you've asked me an unanswerable question at the moment. I can probably check with Taxon. You want to know what the Shangaan word is for a black-bellied kohan and for a red-crested kohan? I don't know, I'm afraid. I suspect they'll be onomatopoeic. I'll have a look when I get back and see if I can find them. Maybe my bird app will show them. Apparently you know the Shangaan word for black-bellied kohan. Sorry, I didn't see a spider on the road there. It'll be a wolf spider. I'll see if I can. I can see if I can find it. So the red-crested, you say, is called the Shikokolo. The X is said sh in Shangaan. Where did you learn that? I think that's astonishing. Shikokolo. And it will be said probably in a slightly onomatopoeic way. Let's see if I can pick the spider up for you. Oh, he's a magnificent beast. So we've spotted a spider on the road here. Ooh. I can smell... Oh, it's buffalo. I'm actually not going to pick that spider up. Anyway, it's a ground-dwelling spider called a wolf spider. It won't do me any harm, but I think that I'll probably just make an idiot of myself trying to pick it up. They're extremely fast. But they're all over the roads at the moment, and you definitely can't see them, but their eyes shine on the road as we drive past. A wolf spider. All over the place. It's like little phosphorescences on the road. Okay, let's go and check in with Jamie, and I'll see you just now.
Well, it sounds like you were having an amazing time with Marula Man, I believe he was masquerading as. And I can't believe I forgot about Halloween. I would have definitely performed something a little bit different. And actually, I'm just thinking about it now, since it is Halloween. It is my dog's birthday. It's her first birthday, and I got sent a picture of her with a very, very sweet party hat that she was wearing on her head, handmade, with pictures of her paw prints and bones. Very, very small picture. And she's very happy in her life in the bush. Dodge. As I dodge the beetles that are all wandering around in the road, but hopefully not flying into my face, always a blister beetle. We were chatting quite a lot about elephants and their amazing personalities and the way that they function. And Monique, you were taking that to the next step, which is, have I ever seen elephants mourn? And whether or not I know of any other animals that do so. There's a korhaan calling somewhere. I'm sure you would have seen one with James earlier. It's perfect breeding season for them. But anyway, Monica, I haven't personally seen elephants mourn. I've seen documentaries and footage of them mourning. It's a difficult one because there's a very, very strong link between a mother and a baby, and quite often those are the circumstances where you see elephants mourning. They definitely have a concept of death. They will go up to carcasses and have a sniff and stand around them. In terms of whether I've seen any other animals mourn, only really females that have lost their offspring. So I've seen it with lions before, where they do wander around for a week or two after they've lost their cubs, and they call for them repeatedly. And it is something that's really sad to see, but they move on fairly quickly. It is just the way of things out here with such a high mortality rate. But elephants, I think, with that emotional capacity that they have, I'm almost certain that they do mourn to some extent. I'm trying to think if there's any other animals that I've ever seen in mourning, but I can't think of any at the moment. It's mostly that mother-offspring bond. Now, apparently one of our wonderful viewers has discovered the advert that I was talking about earlier, and that was the Plascon paint advert, and it's been shared with all of you. So thank you very much for that. It was a very special advert back in its day, and one that stuck with me, obviously clearly stuck with me throughout my life. I had just forgotten that it was for Plascon. But I do appreciate that, and thanks for reminding me, because I'm going to go back into camp now and have a look at it just for the nostalgia of it. It really has been the most incredible evening, and I'm glad to share it with all of you as well. It's actually quite nice driving through the dark without a spotlight, because I can just focus on the sounds and the smells that are wafting over us, as well as the nice drop in temperature. There's a huge storm building off to the west of us. I hope it hits tonight. I really hope we get that rain. There's nothing like the feel of an African thunderstorm after a blistering hot day. We'll be keeping our fingers crossed for that. And please, I asked this before last night, but I'm going to ask again. Those of you who do regularly watch our dam cameras, and any new viewers, remember that there are 24-hour dam cameras up on Djuma and Arathusa dams. Now, I suspect that those leopards are still in the area. I haven't seen any tracks coming out from when they were last seen. So I think they're still around, and they could well go to the dam for a drink tonight. So if you find yourself wanting something to see or experience the ambience of the African bush, keep an eye on it for us tonight and let us know if you see anything exciting. We'll be keeping our ears and eyes open as well. And I'm going to stop here on Impala Plains and just enjoy the last few moments of my sunset safari. A big thank you to you all, and a big thank you to Jandre for his wonderful work and his spotting abilities. I hope you had a wonderful time, and I will catch up with you tomorrow morning for the sunrise safari. Until I see you again, have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening wherever you are in the world. Bye bye for now.
We are being absolutely savaged by insecta. As Viam was just saying, he's got a number that have crawled up the inside of his trouser leg, but he is stoically managing not to leap about. Well, he's leaping about, but he's not making too many noises, which is very relieving. I have got them all over my legs, lots of them up my inner thigh, a number down my shirt. Some of them smell rather alarming. Now, we did a little bit of research while you were gone from us, and we've come up with two words for the black-bellied kohan in Shitsonga or Shangaan. One that Brent found was hoyo hoyo, that came from the interweb, and then one that comes from the Roberts Bird text, which I managed to find on my phone, is shitlatla. Now I think shitlatla is probably onomatopoeic as well, because kla would be a little bit like the call that it makes, and that would probably be said in an onomatopoeic fashion. Anyway, I hope that kind of answers the question. Right, we're now driving around the side of the Buffelshoek Dam, not Buffelshoek, Djuma Dam. Now, Steve in California and Susan, you want to know if I think that my headdress is better than the tortoiseshell we saw on the head of a ranger today. Well, it's probably a little more ecologically friendly, but no, I don't think it's quite as spectacular. I don't think it had nearly as much thought put into it. I think that my heart used to sink into my toes whenever we were invited as children to fancy dress parties. I don't know what it is, but they've never been my favorite thing. But as you can see, I think the last time I went to a fancy dress do, I went as a pirate, and I strapped the carcass of a chicken that had been eaten onto my shoulder, and that's how I went off to the fancy dress party. I didn't make any friends and went home alone that night, unsurprisingly. Christine, you say that my head is probably going to hurt when I pull this tape off. Of course, the advantage of having no hair, Christine, is that, well, it doesn't make that nasty... Oh, bug biting me on the inner thigh. It doesn't... when you don't have hair, you don't have that horrible feeling of that hair coming out with... Oh, one down my back now. I'm being attacked. I'm under severe attack. Oh God, that one smelled awful. Oh, that's horrible. No. It's like inhaling pure chlorine. Good grief. Anyway, and Cindy, you say that I would make a very good bushman. Now, I'm assuming that you mean a bushman as in a sand bushman. They are known to be fairly short, that's tick. They are known to have sticky outy bottoms, that's tick. I have that too. They are known to have very short hair, that's tick. So yes, perhaps bushman would be an excellent choice for me to go to my next fancy dress party. I probably am not quite dark enough of complexion, but if I hang around out here for long enough, I'll certainly get leathery enough. Known for their very leathery skin are the Bushmen of the Kalahari. Amazing ability to deal with very harsh sun conditions. Thank you, Cindy. So we're driving just around the Djuma Dam, seeing if something hasn't popped out. Like Jamie said, I think the chances of them coming down here to have a drink are quite high. And there's lightning going on way in the west. I can see it flashing in the mountains. But if we get to a high spot before we end, I'll put it up there and you can have a look. And a birthday for Jeannie in New Hampshire, and you wanted to see a cat. You obviously, because you have your birthday on Halloween, but because we saw elephants, you feel satisfied. Jeannie, I'm very pleased you feel satisfied with the elephants. I feel almost satisfied with the elephants. I would love to have seen these mating leopards. The last time they were mating, they did exactly the same thing to us in exactly the same area. We could not find them for love nor money. Well, not that we tried with money. Costume keeps falling over my ear and I keep wondering if I'm being attacked by a dung beetle or not. But maybe during the night they will pop through here. Okay. We'll stop here and have a one last listen before I say goodbye to you. I'm hoping also maybe you'll get a view of if the lightning starts going on in the west. I'll show that to you too. Can't hear anything in the way of leopards calling, but there is a wonderful atmosphere around here. Very un-Halloweenish. Right, thank you for your time, for watching us. Thank you for your questions and comments. Big thank you to Viam. Thank you, Viam. Thank you to Brent for finding Eugene. Big thank you to Tara twiddling the knobs, and Jerry twiddling the keys, and of course to Jamie and Jean-Dre. We will see you tomorrow at 5:30 in the morning. Have a safe Halloween evening wherever you are. Bye-bye.